This is the sound of the spirit. Hello, my name's Tim Shoebridge. It's my absolute honour and pleasure to be able to demonstrate to you today Cherry Audio's latest product, the Crumar Spirit. Now, this original synthesizer dates back to 1983. It's mystical because less than 100 units were actually made. There were 4 main designers on the project. Santi Crucinelli of Crumar, unfortunately I can't find any photographs of him at all, and 3 ex-employees of Moog Music, no other than Jim Scott, Tom Rea, and the man himself, Bob Moog. Now, the Crumar Spirit is renowned for being incredibly complex and powerful, and so what we're going to do through Cherry Audio's wonderful virtual analog recreation is we're going to take a look at this mystical instrument, and I'm going to hopefully be able to show you how to navigate the front panel and create some wonderful sounds of your own. So let's get stuck in. We'll start off looking at the audio signal path. Well, there are 2 audio signal paths. We're going to look at the simplest one first of all. Let's take a look. So here we have 2 voltage controlled oscillators. They're called oscillator A and oscillator B. We can mix these 2 oscillators together as well as a noise source in this mixer section over here, and then the audio from that mixer section will pass into the filter section. Now, the filter section, we have 2 filters. They're called the upper filter and the lower filter. That's nothing to do with their sonic range. It's just the fact that we have 2, and one is at the top and one is at the bottom. Now, the audio from those filters passes into the voltage-controlled amplifier section. The only evidence that we see of it here on the front panel is a dedicated envelope generator for it. In fact, we have a dedicated envelope generator for the filter section just above it. Now, as we come to expect from all Cherry Audio products, they've added some wonderful, gorgeous sounding effects to this instrument, and we just get a little glimpse of them down the bottom here. I'll show you the effects section later on. But that is the sort of the final step in the audio path from oscillators, through mixer, through filters, through amplifier, and then effects. So just to round off our very brief overview of this first audio signal path, we haven't really talked about modulations. Now, there are the 2 envelope generators that I've already shown you, but there's also a dedicated modulation section. It's called Mod X. And the reason it's called Mod X is because we have a Y section as well. We'll talk about the Y section later on. But the Mod X section reminds me very much of the modulation buses that you'll find on a Moog Voyager. We have a number of modulation sources that we can choose, a number of modulation destinations as well, and these modulations that we set up here are all controlled by the mod wheel. So, all good so far, but I've skimmed over a lot of detail that makes the Crumar Spirit very, very special. So let's go back and take another look at those oscillators. Right, let's start with oscillator A. It's a pretty basic and standard oscillator. It's just got two controls, waveform and octave range. In terms of waveform, we've got a triangle, which is what we're listening to right now. We've got 4 different pulse widths of a square wave, and then we have a sawtooth. I've got some delay going on. I've been listening to Tim Blake a lot lately. He's inspired me. So those are our waveforms, and in terms of octave range, 32 feet to 4 feet. Pretty standard stuff. Let's take a look at oscillator B. Let's add it to the mix. You can hear it's just very slightly detuned at the moment. We have the same two controls, waveform and octave range, but they do differ in terms of what they provide here. If you see the different pulse widths of the square wave, they are different pulse width intervals to oscillator A, which is a really nice little touch to have those choices. In terms of octave range, it's relative to oscillator A. So if we listen to a sawtooth on both, we can go -1, 1 octave down, and then we can go +1 or +2 octaves. Still all standard stuff, right? But these last two here are interesting. Let me just take down oscillator A. Let's just change this to a triangle wave for a minute. Both of these, bass and wide, the difference between them is the frequency range that you're able to select. But when I select either of these, you can see it's called drone. Well, it's not really a drone, but what it does mean is that oscillator B is detached from the keyboard. It's like a free-running LFO or free-running oscillator. So bass, actually I'm going to choose square wave so we can hear the pulsing. Bass has got this frequency range. Now I'm still playing that arpeggio, but it's playing a constant pitch. That's because we're in this drone mode. Wide is a much wider range of frequency, even slower, lower and slower than bass. Just a click, all the way up to, well, beyond my hearing. almost beyond my hearing. I can just hear that. So what is the point of something like this, you might ask yourself? Well, we can then use this as a modulation source to modulate other things. Oscillator A, for example. So let me just have a little go at that. Let's switch oscillator A to a triangle wave and introduce it. And we're going to turn down oscillator B in the mix so we can't hear it, but we're going to use it to modulate oscillator A, a little bit of frequency modulation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it to, let's try a sawtooth. I'm going to use the mod X section, because the mod X section has got a modulation source, which is oscillator B, and it's got a modulation destination, which is oscillator A, so we can modulate A with B. I'm going to set the interval to 1.46, because I tried that a little while ago and it sounded quite interesting. And I'm going to turn up the modulation using the mod wheel. So now we've got that classic frequency modulation sound, but it's fixed. Another good use of having a fixed frequency for the modulation source is with oscillator hard sync. So we've got hard sync here, and it's interesting to have a fixed frequency and hear the sort of difference it makes as you play up and down the keyboard. So as you can see, those oscillators aren't typical monosynth oscillators. There's a lot more to them than just being bog standard oscillators. And it's the same with the filter section. Let's take a closer look at that too. Right, let's take a look at this filter section, and I do apologise if at any point I seem to be falling into a trance and spending hours noodling away here. This filter section really is magical. Let's start with the upper filter. It's a low pass filter, it's self-resonating, and it's got two modes, 12 dB and 24 dB. There's keyboard tracking here, and this is the master cutoff control. It's called master because it does affect both of the filters at the same time. We're not hearing the lower filter at all at the moment because of this particular control set to out, which means it's out of the picture. By the way, these two filters are connected in series, but we're just listening to the low one at the moment. Let's just play around with the cutoff. Add some resonance in. It's a beautiful sounding filter, it really is. And yes, it does self-resonate. Let's whack up the resonance to 100%. Let's take the oscillator out of the mix. And if you want it to track the keyboard, we need to adjust the keyboard tracking. Do note that this control goes beyond 100%. It goes up to 105. So I'm just going to manually edit the value. And let's see if I can tune it to the oscillator. That's not bad. Very nice. Okay, let's take a look at the lower filter now. So at the moment we're not listening to it. We've got 3 modes where we can hear it. Let's jump to the last one, high pass. So, as I said, this is the master cutoff control, and this one is an offset, either going below or above the master level for this lower filter. When it's pointing to number 8 here, so at 3 o'clock on the dial, but pointing at number 8, it is completely in sync with the upper filter. So if we just adjust the offset a bit, we're going to get that classic bandpass effect. Now the resonance is affecting both of the filters at the same time, but you can get some really nice effects by flicking this switch. Flicking the switch takes the resonance away from the upper filter. It's now on low setting, which means it's only affecting the lower filter. Let's try one of the other modes here for the lower filter. This next one is called band pass. It doesn't turn this lower filter into a band pass filter as such, it's more like a parametric EQ. And it really does need lots of resonance to hear the effect properly. But let's have a go at that. Crank up the resonance on the band pass mode and let's play around with, say, the offset. So there's only one control left to talk about, this formant dynamic switch. At the moment, both of these filters are affected by modulations such as this filter envelope. So if I just turn up the filter envelope setting. Now if we switch this to formant, what happens is, in the same way that we can take the resonance out of the upper filter, we can take modulation out of the lower filter. The modulation, the filter envelope, is now only affecting the upper. Okay, let's get on to the second audio signal path. It's all controlled by this audio mixer here. You'll see that these sliders that we've been looking at so far are red, while these ones are green. So it's color-coded as to which audio path we're dealing with. This audio mixer controls everything. So at the moment we're listening to the first audio signal path. We're hearing oscillator going through filter, going through some envelopes and some effects. Let's turn that down and listen to the second signal path. Now we're hearing those oscillators, or that oscillator A. It's not going through a filter, it's not going through any effects, but it's going through a very specific envelope generator. That envelope generator is called a shaper, shaper Y over here. And as you can see, the shape control is dictating the envelope. At the moment it's all the way to the right, and you can see from the graphic we've got a slow attack and then an immediate decay. If I turn it round to the left, now we've got an immediate attack and a slow decay. And then in the middle, slow attack and decay. Now obviously I'm playing an arpeggio right now and it's playing quite quickly, so let's slow it down a bit so you can hear it better. Now there's actually a sustain portion to this shape, but we're not hearing it because I've got an arpeggio playing, so I'm actually going to turn the arpeggiator off and just play some notes on the keyboard. At the moment this mode here is set to keyboard hold, and that's going to give me a sustain portion. So the attack portion is going to play out and then it's going to sustain until I let go of the note, and then we'll get the release like this. Let's do a long attack. And then all the other way. So we've got a lot of control over the sound with just this shape control and this mode dial. There are a bunch of different modes. I'm not going to go into every single one of them, but it does allow us to loop this as an LFO basically, or a complex shaped LFO, and we can do that in run mode. Now just coming back to the audio path, the second audio path that we've got here, it has its own dedicated set of effects, and they are at the bottom here just as the first signal path ones are, but they're color coded between red and green. Completely different effects for each of these signal paths. So let's add a little bit of echo. Let's put the arpeggiator back on and listen to it. So that's just affecting the second signal path. Let's add in the first one. Different set of effects. Speed it up a bit. We can sync the rate of the shaper, just as we can sync the LFO, sync pretty much everything on this synthesizer. It's very, very cool. But that's not all that this shaper can do. It can also act as a modulation source. It's very similar to Mod X in that respect, because we've got a set of destinations at the bottom here. So we can choose to modulate these different destinations using the shape that's being generated by the shaper. In this example, I am modulating the speed of the LFO using shaper Y, and then the LFO, which is Mod X, is modulating filter cutoff. We can't hear it unless I slow down the speed of this arpeggiation. You can see by the LEDs how it's working. Right, so the next thing I want to cover with the Crumar Spirit is its arpeggiator. Now, Cherry Audio have taken the arpeggiator and they have extended it. They've added this section here over on the right hand side, swing, chance and feel, to give the ability to add unpredictability and a human quality to arpeggios. They've also added the 4-octave button and this down direction button. But what I just want to concentrate on are the original modes that the original 1983 Crumar Spirit had. It had 3 arpeggiator modes called Ripple, Arpeggio and Leap. What we're hearing at the moment is Ripple. It is just simply taking those 4 notes that I'm holding down and ascending them. Very straightforward, right? Let's listen to the arpeggio setting. Now it's repeating that 4-note sequence over 3 octaves, which is quite unusual to choose 3 octaves. It's actually very musical, I like it, but I can understand why Cherry Audio have added this 4-octave button if you want to spread it across 4 octaves instead, like this. And we can go downwards rather than up. That's the arpeggio mode. The one I love the most is called Leap. Just listen to what it does to this simple 4-note arpeggio. So what's going on here is every note is being played on a different octave, the 3-octave spread that we had with the arpeggio mode. So it takes the first note, plays it at the required octave, then the second note is played 1 octave below, the third note is played 1 octave above, and then it repeats. So you get this real fascinating little syncopated rhythms going on. It's really inspiring, this arpeggiator, I have to say. Just hold down some chords and it'll just play for you. It's really, really good. To be honest, we've only just scratched the surface at the kinds of sounds that the Crumar Spirit is capable of, even the original Crumar Spirit, because we haven't even looked at all the additions that Cherry Audio have made to the original to bring it into the 21st century and into your door. And as always, they've added so many things that it's an infinite list. I mean, I don't even know where to start. I'm not going to mention everything, but I'm just going to mention the things that just are on the top of my head. First of all, I haven't even played this synthesizer yet in polyphonic mode, but we've got all of these different modes, voicing modes here that we're used to in Cherry Audio's products, and they've added in the multi-mode that they introduced with the Yellow Jacket, which was to simulate its polychaining capability. So we've got that in here as well. And if I switch it to multi-mode, you'll see that this multi-voice section over here becomes enabled, and then we've got the ability to change each of the voices, the panning, the pitch, the filter cutoff, the VCA attack and release. We can really sculpt the sound in incredible ways with the voicing modes. I haven't mentioned over here, but we've got a Matrix Z, or should I say Matrix Z? So we've got Mod X, Shaper Y, and Matrix Z. What Cherry Audio have done is given us another 4 modulation buses, if you like. We've got a whole range of sources to choose from, including aftertouch, and that does include polyphonic aftertouch if you have a polyphonic aftertouch enabled controller. And then in terms of the destinations, so many destinations here to choose from, and we've got 4 of those that we can add in to the existing modulations that the Crumar Spirit gives us. What else have we got? Well, obviously we've got MIDI, because this is a virtual instrument running in your DAW or running standalone. We've got MIDI, we've got MIDI clocks, therefore we've got all of the synchronization capabilities. We've got synchronization of our modulators, we've got synchronization of the arpeggiator, and I haven't even shown you the effects in their full glory, their beautiful colorful glory, but we've got synchronization on all of the time-based effects as well. Now, in terms of these effects, as I mentioned before, they're color-coded, so when we don't actually see them with all of the controls, but we have these like minimal controls along the bottom, we can see that they're color-coded green and red, depending on which signal path we're using here. And it's the same when we open up the effects and see them with all of the controls that we can change. We've got green and we have got red. So we've got a different set of effects for each of those signal paths. For the standard subtractive synthesizer signal path, shall I call it that, we've got a set of reverbs, a set of delays, we've got flanger and chorus, and we've got a number of distortion effects as well. And then for the shaper signal path, we've got same delays, flanger and chorus, but we've also got a dual phaser, plus this really cool and useful envelope filter effect. It's got its own 2-pole and 4-pole low pass filter with resonance and drive, and you can shape the cutoff with your own envelope, which is triggered by the gate of the synthesizer, so you can actually add filtered sounds to the second signal path, the shaper signal path, if you want to, and that really does open up the sonic capabilities of the synth even more. So this is all I have time for to show you this incredible instrument, the new Crumar Spirit from Cherry Audio. It is absolutely amazing. It's a powerhouse. It's got complexity. It's a sound designer's dream, and it's just a wonderful instrument to meddle with, play around with, and immerse yourself in. It's a wonderful thing. It's probably the only instrument you need, but I shouldn't be saying that because you should be buying all the other ones as well. But it is absolutely, I'm blown away by it. I'm blown away by it. I don't know how Cherry Audio do this, but every time they come out with a new instrument, I think, okay, what can they do to this to make it special? And they just keep blowing me away every single time. This is the Crumar Spirit. My name's Tim Shoebridge. Thank you very, very much for watching.